Hello there, Shakers. Welcome to another episode of MindShack podcast. This podcast has been developing and growing beyond our expectations.
We would really love to thank you, that's all, and we hope you enjoyed today's video.
Hello, greetings, Dumelang Jambo. My name is Nongcebo Hlongwane, aka Noni. Welcome to season 4 of the MindShack podcast. We are a Gen Z podcast that focuses on discussing societal issues, entrepreneurial leadership, culture, and we border on topics in psychology in Africa. All we do is shake out the cobwebs on societal issues that we see in the world today in an African way. In this episode, we talk about the concept of family, relationships, and body image dysfunction, BID, in its commonality. The effects of family communication and function and satisfaction with one's body on psychological well-being in gender. The mediating role of self-esteem and interpersonal relationships. So, Mindshakers, this is episode 3, family, relationship, and body image. Our guest today needs no introduction, but we don't mind introducing her. Her name is Patricia Kihoro, and she is a multi-potentialite who does everything from being a YouTuber, an IG influencer, and a founder of Uncover Skin Care. She not only hosts SpeakerBox, but she enjoys traveling and shares her travel experiences. She just felt like the best person to talk to about today's topic because she works in so many different spaces that require her to show up as an African woman, but also as a person. And also, we'd love to hear about her experiences when it relates to body image in these spaces. Hi, Patricia. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I am great. We're so happy to have you. How's your day going?
Thank you so much. My day, I've had a really good day. I've had a productive day. I've actually gotten quite a bit done, and my mind has sort of behaved and sort of listened to what I asked it to do. So today has been a good day, and I'm super happy about that.
That's really great. Thank you so much for joining us. So, like I had said, we're going to speak about body positivity and body image, especially when it comes to family and relationships. Do you think there's anything that's like a cause of how we see our bodies and sort of positive body images?
Yeah, definitely how we're brought up and the images that we are brought up seeing in media or around us, the bodies that are praised, definitely influence what we think of ourselves. So if we grow up seeing bodies in the media that have made it, being on TV when I was growing up was such a big deal, or being in the papers or being in a magazine. So seeing bodies, faces, hair, anything that looked like you was almost validation that, oh, okay, that's good, right? So if you didn't see that, then it just meant that you were not quite the epitome of what is regarded as beautiful, or, the best version of what society deems as the best. And even in, the family, if you get comments from as young as 2, 3, 4, 5, if you get comments about, oh, that's a big chubby baby, or the cheeks are so big, or I remember I've had 2. When I was much younger, I was so skinny, and I would get comments about how skinny I was, and you need to eat more. You're just bones, just skin and bones. And so I was already like, okay, I'm skinny and I don't like it, but I didn't mind it. Then going into high school and gaining weight and being told, oh, wow, what's the hurry? Where are you going? This skirt is so tight. You eat so well in school. Those comments, as much as it's not your fat, it's not like a direct you're fat, but it's a very, they kind of just start to chip away at what you deem not pleasant, not good, not right. I remember the first time I had like stretch marks on my body, and an aunt of mine just said, oh, this is a sign that you're going to get fat. I was 12. I was still really slim, but she said that, and after that I was just like, oh, so I'm going to get fat, like just terrified. And already that can tell you that, why was I terrified of getting fat? What's wrong with being bigger than I was, you know? And that was such an internalized messaging that over the years had just been put into my head. So definitely society, family, what it is that is praised does affect what it is that we then think of ourselves.
That's actually very true. I mean, we were just speaking about I was speaking yesterday about how I was a very awkwardly shaped child. I looked like a boy for many years, and then I sort of embraced it when I got older. I cut my hair, and I've just always worn my hair really short. So just embrace that part of myself. But the negativity that comes with it at a certain point in time, especially with how the media has depicted Black women and how we're not supposed to look a certain way, we're supposed to look a different way, sort of shapes how people actually speak to you. So sometimes it's not even how they feel about it, it's just how they've been taught to feel about it, and how you wear natural hair, and sometimes they have to have relaxed hair or processed hair. It all came from different parts of their lives too. And I think it's one of those things that you sort of understand when you're older, that it's not their fault. This is how they've been taught. This is what, has been given to them. And this is what's caused the negativity in their lives. So it's very interesting that you've gone through the same kind of experiences. Do you think that, social media and the media could do a better job? I know now we're seeing a lot more Black women and Black bodies just embracing who they actually are, darker skin, sort of making sure that you don't have like maximum amounts of makeup to make you look different. Do you think that the media and social media have sort of improved that, or is there like a space for that to sort of grow?
Definitely room to grow. I do appreciate, those people on social media who do the work to sort of normalize all kinds of bodies, all kinds of complexions, all kinds of hair, all kinds of everything. And I applaud them for that. But I do think that social media also, depending on you as a, consumer of social media, who you follow is definitely going to affect, the messaging that you receive. So I know for a fact that there was a time that social media was so, you follow the people that, and you admire, and you kind of just want to see into their lives, but they have access to procedures that can make them alter themselves into the version of themselves that they think is, is desirable. And then if that's all you follow, there's a lot of comparison that can happen. And you just think, wow, that's perfection and I need to work towards it. And I remember there was a day where for me, I was like, wait, if I'm doing the same on my platforms and there are girls that follow me and they're thinking that like my life is perfect, I'm all perfection, then they start to think that there's something wrong with them because they don't look or act or seem happy or perfect all the time. Then I'm part of the reason that, social media is not great. And so I realized that self-acceptance for me is still a journey that I'm on. And social media, it's two-pronged. On the one hand, it's kind of like it's fed into my, self-comparison demons. But on the other hand, there's also the people and the pages that I have found online that have started to restore and build that self-love and self-acceptance. And so what I'm learning is to also curate my feeds to make sure that I am following and consuming media that returns me to myself and helps me on my journey to self-acceptance and believing that everything should be normalized. Like everything is cool. Stretch marks are okay. No stretch marks is fine. Using language like, chosen ones, these ones are the chosen ones because the body looks like this, like also catching myself in the phrases that I use, and continuing also to do the things that I wear makeup. I love makeup. I love how I look when I wear makeup, but I'm also working towards spending more time not in makeup and just loving myself as I am, so that the confidence is there regardless, Now, and I was saying to you earlier how I was just like, wait, if it's a video recording, I should go put on makeup. And then I caught myself because I was like, yeah, but also I could have just done it without makeup on, And just kind of like moving closer and closer to accepting myself whichever way. So I love makeup. I can wear makeup. It's great. And also I feel the same way. I feel as confident when I don't have makeup on. That should be okay too. How I dress in certain things. I don't need to like cinch my waist to feel better about myself. I'm working towards just unpacking and unraveling all the messaging that I've accumulated over the years and sort of laying it bare and acknowledging it every time I encounter my inner voice saying, no, do this so that you look better, or do this so that you're this is more flattering, and sort of unpacking it and then getting through it and then accepting myself as I am, so social media has been horrible, but then now it's starting to be great again because I'm reclaiming it for what I know I can get from it and what also I can put out on my pages for other people who consume my content.
I mean, it's very interesting that you're speaking about your own experience, especially with makeup and, body images. I think a lot of women are faced with the same thing. I mean, a lot of our audience is sort of young Black women, but also there's guys, and I've got a feeling that their experience is a bit different. Do you think that the relationship between body image and your actual gender and societal norms in terms of gender sort of correlate, or are they sort of different?
I mean, I think about it this way. I'm not going to say that men have it easier,
Yeah.
or that a certain gender has it easier, but there is more messaging that's targeted towards women and what they should be, aiming to achieve in terms of what their bodies look like and how they present. Case in point, a lot of times you're not going to find boys feeling shy about their bodies when we're swimming, right? Like, or men, like they'll just, they've got their tummies and their man boobs, and it's perfectly fine. Like, and I've always admired it, almost to a point of envy. Like, I wish I was just as confident as guys, because it felt, at least to me when I was growing up, it just felt like they didn't feel the pressure to be perfect, even in their swimsuits, they can just show up. And the number of guys who've got like little beer bellies and things, like more often than not, it felt that way. But now, also with learning and growth, you get to realize that it's not gender specific. Everybody comes with their insecurities, and society will sort of castigate people based on where they're from as well, and so I do think gender does have a big deal to do with it. Women definitely bear the brunt a lot harder, but I also do acknowledge that, men and other genders, honestly, also have their insecurities and things that they deal with. Yeah.
I mean, it plays a lot on the mental health of each individual. I mean, we don't really think about it that way when it happens in the moment. Like when someone tells you to start losing weight or gaining weight or cover that up, do you think that it's something like mental health and body image has not been sort of married to each other in terms of the Black or the African community? Or is it something that just, it doesn't matter as much for us? Mental health.
Oh my gosh. I think, you know how people still say those are African, I mean, those are Western issues, those are Western diseases, those are just Zungu things, those are white, people will like throw around these statements, reducing mental health conditions or mental health issues to, we don't deal with that as Africans. Us guys, we just work hard, like we've never dealt with such things. But then if you think about it in the context of, African communities or societies and people who are deemed mad, it's always been that mental health issues are on the extreme. The madman who walks naked in the village, like, so people haven't really been catching things when they start or when they're not too extreme. And I think we're starting to realize that mental health is not just the extreme version of something. There's roots, there's where it starts, is elements of certain behaviors that are tied to our mental health, and is things that, you know, could also be treated with medication. Because I think a lot of people also, because it's not something tangible, it's not something you're able to say the breathing is labored, or you can see a wound, or there's a tumor, because it's not something you can see tangibly, you don't think there's a tangible way to sort of deal with it. So a lot of people also just say, yeah, but you know, medication, pills, isn't that just like you're gonna get addicted and big pharma, or you know, so they reduce it as well to, if it's a mind thing, then just focus and put your mind to being better. Don't be depressed. What's there to be depressed about? You know, things are minimized in ways that you're almost gaslit into believing that you shouldn't be dealing with a mental health issue. You have no right to. What suffering have you gone through for you to be depressed, or for you to, even talking about things like ADHD, you know, it's just get a planner, write down your to-do list, and you know, just
do it.
Yeah, and I really love all the people who are so vocal on their platforms and are able to sort of unpack all these things for us in the African context. We're getting there. It's baby steps at the moment, but I think mental health, people are starting to see just how big of an issue it is and how seriously we should be taking mental health, and also understanding that just because the media or the movies portrayed a certain condition in this way doesn't mean that that's all there is to it. You know, things like autism or ADHD, for instance, you know, they've always been portrayed as ADHD as just little boys who are hyperactive. Autism is, you know, either somebody who just can't talk to people and has issues with social situations, or has Asperger's, so they're genius in some way. But no, you know, realizing that it's actually a spectrum and it presents differently, you know, it doesn't have to just be this extreme version of what a condition is. And another thing is also how it presents in women, because a lot of these things, you know, go misdiagnosed in women because we're invisible and nobody really, you know, sees us. And then now there's the added layer of being a Black woman. And then there's the added layer of being a Black woman in Africa, where mental health has never really been taken seriously. So yeah, we have a long way to go, but I'm glad that, you know, and maybe my privilege is here speaking, because I have access to the internet and I have access to, you know, resources that can help me figure out if I do have any mental health conditions and how to treat them. But then there's people in, you know, rural areas of our countries who might be going through it, and because of what they're taught about, you know, women do this, men do this, suicide rates are so high, but it's also still being minimized to, you know, he was a drunk, or oh, he just didn't have a job so he couldn't support his family and he killed himself, or you know, somebody killing himself and his entire family, and people just chalking it down to curses, or you know, that family is cursed, or you know, that community, they have a lot of people who deal with this, and it's so hush hush. The stigma around it is also so, it can be so crippling as well. So mental health is
I mean, it's so
mental health
funny.
is huge.
So sorry to cut you off. It's so funny that you're speaking about the fact that it's such an array and such a spectrum of issues. Because I mean, I have someone very close to me who, she's a very close friend, and she went into a mental health facility for one thing because she just felt exhausted. She felt tired. She just didn't want to be a part of what we call life. And then she goes into the hospital and she realizes, oh my gosh, I actually have an eating disorder. And that comes from my mom and my gran and my aunts always telling me that my body's changing. And then she realized the fact that when she started growing up, like she was in her 20s, she started losing weight on purpose, not eating on purpose, which didn't feel like anything because you're just choosing to miss a meal, or you're choosing to start this diet, or you can feel that you're a bit heavier, so you want to lose. So it started off as something small, but it starts ending up being like, okay, you have not eaten in 3 days. What's up? No, no, no.
Yeah.
I've been eating popcorn and drinking green tea. It's a diet I'm on. So you don't think it's an eating disorder because it doesn't present as an eating disorder. You don't think it's a mental disorder or a health issue until you actually go into hospital and they're like, yeah, this is not healthy. And you're gonna die because you're not taking care of yourself. So you sort of realize the connection between the body image issues and going right into like interpersonal relationships and then into something much heavier than what it's supposed to be, which is you're now dealing with an eating disorder till the day you die because you're constantly thinking about it. So it's so amazing that all those three things can be connected, but we really don't see it as connected.
We also like, fragment and compartmentalize so many things. So we're not seeing that, hey, all this messaging that you're getting from the women in your family has affected you in this way subconsciously. So it affects your eating, you start to lose weight, and then you become malnourished also. So there's certain vitamins and minerals that you don't have, and a deficiency in certain things can present as depression, can present as mood disorders as well. So they're not just standalone things that they're all so tied to each other, and some things can lead to other things and other things then lead to other things. And it's so interesting that we're only just kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding the realms of mental health and how they're also intertwined into our interpersonal relationships with other people, with our bodies, with society at large. And I think access to information is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a privilege. And I think it's important to sort of make information accessible to more and more people so that they're able to figure out even just that maybe I need to see someone. That's just a start. Maybe I just need to see someone and then take it from there.
This is a thank you to you, a mind shaker, a listener of this episode. We highly, highly appreciate you joining in on all of these episodes. If you can just take a second to share this link to someone to have them tap into these episodes, that will be so highly appreciated. You are the fuel to what we're doing here. So please share the link, please like, please comment, please subscribe or follow in whichever platform you're in. And we will see you on the next episode as you continue to fuel us through. Thank you.
Okay, so never have I ever changed clothes because of what someone else has said.
Remember one time I just put on these tiny little shorts as I would to go and play because they were convenient, and a t-shirt. And the lady who would help us, our nanny, she kind of just sat me down. She's like, "You're making your brother stumble. How dare you put on such clothes?" And I remember, changing and putting on longer shorts. But then even by that point, I didn't want to go back outside to play. And I think that might be the first time I started just feeling conscious about, the clothes that I wear. And at the point I'm in right now in life, I'm super confident in the choices that I make with regards to clothes. And the last time somebody said something about what I was wearing, I was just like, no, you're not going to do that. And still wore what I had on. But yeah, when I was younger, I was super conscious of it and super conscious of what people might say, especially when I gained weight. I was super modest in my dressing. At some point, I couldn't even show my arms because I felt like they were just too big. Yep. And so, yeah, it's happened before, but now, even if somebody said anything, I'd just be like, well, that's on you. This is what I'm wearing. Yeah.
I think all African women go through that actually, because I mean, I've gone through the same thing. There's so many instances where you walk into a room after you've changed and you're feeling great, and someone's gonna go, well, maybe you shouldn't wear that. So for a very long time, I didn't wear anything short. And because I grew up in a Christian household, you definitely don't wear anything short. You don't wear anything showing like any part of your body. So you just sort of find a way to censor yourself and censor the way that you dress, especially as women, because I don't know, I think our bodies are evidently sinful.
Interesting, because my mom was the exact opposite. She's the one who told the nanny, you don't tell my daughter what she can or cannot wear. If she wants to wear those shorts, she will wear them. I remember even when I used to dress super modest when I was in high school and my body had changed, she's the one who'd be like, no, just wear a crop top. I remember one time crying because she wanted me to wear a crop top. And I was just like, my stomach is not flat. She's like, no, just like wear what you want. So my mom was actually the opposite of the typical, modest African mom who has you, dressing a certain way. She kind of just wanted, she thought the hot pants that I was wearing in the first story, they were hers and she kept them for me. Even before she was pregnant with me, she was just like, oh, I can't wait to have a daughter who's going to wear these. So she was super liberal in terms of how I dressed. And I think I kind of just went against the grain because I was super insecure about my body after I gained weight.
Well, I mean, I really like her already. She must be such a great, like, liberal mom, especially for African women. That's very, very rare. Okay, next question. Have you ever been judged because of your body type?
Have I ever been judged because of my body type? Not that I know of. If I have, I don't know.
And they need to keep it that way.
And I'm glad I haven't paid attention. And if I have, maybe I don't remember, but I don't think so. Not that I know of, no.
Great. So the next question, have you ever thought of going under the knife, going into surgery?
Yes, I'm not even, my friend and I have even talked about it. We're like, ooh, can you imagine? Like, well, it was more like exploratory. We're like, do you think we should go see that surgeon, that plastic surgeon, and see like maybe how we could get our waists like reduced and, get like a bum lift? We talked about it, we joked about it, but I think honestly, I'm terrified of all the things that could go wrong. So I don't think I would ever do it, but it's something I've thought about. I've definitely thought about, if I was, if I could get like a smaller waist to hip ratio, because I think that would be super cool. But then also at the same time, I kind of, like I said, I'm the most comfortable I've ever been in my body now. Yeah, if they had, I don't know, I know it was like a surgical procedure that would sort of make it so that I don't have to go to the gym to get my thighs toned. I would consider but also I say this in jest. I think I'm just too terrified of surgery. So
speaking of relationships, do you think that any of your relationships have changed the way that you look at your body and body images? Because I mean, I know a lot of people don't think of themselves as beautiful or pretty or attractive until they meet a certain kind of person and they're like, you're actually really pretty. Or someone sort of tells you something and you realize, oh my gosh, this actually might be true. Do you think any of that has sort of changed because of relationships?
definitely. Definitely. The relationships that you're in, whether romantic, platonic, the relationships that you have with people are also so important in, how you form ideas around who you are. And there are people who can also there are people who can be bad for you and there are people who can be great for you. And then there's people who you're great for and others who you're not. And, I think if you have a great relationship with yourself, then you're able to navigate the world of relationships. If you don't have the best relationship with yourself, it can affect your relationships with people. And body image is a huge part of your relationship with yourself, right? And it can present in so many ways. For the longest time, because I wasn't, by the time I was in high school, I wasn't considered one of the pretty girls or like desirable. So by the time I was out of high school, a couple of years out, and lost the weight, I'd always had a bit of an extroverted personality. Like I'm able to get along with people. And so it took a while before I would start to believe people when they said, oh, you look so great, or like there was a dissonance there. And sometimes I feel it today, like people will compliment me and I'm just like, I'll believe it because I've heard it a lot. And then I also have moments where I'm like, you know what? I am beautiful. I am desirable. Sometimes it's like affirmations to make me believe it. But if you're in a relationship with someone or in a friendship with someone, and these are things that you don't believe about yourself, even when they say them to you, there's always that disbelief. And, it's always just like, I can't measure up. And sometimes there's a dissonance of, you see me like this, but I'm not there yet. So I'm trying to measure up to the vision that you say you see of me. And then it comes to a love thing, a self-love thing, where if you don't love yourself, really, you're not going to be able to accept somebody loving you, because you're just like, yeah, but I'm not that great, so I don't believe you. And you're always looking for the confirmation of the ways in which you're not measuring up, so that, so if you do something, if they get angry at you, then it comes to the whole, yep, I knew it, I knew it, I'm not. And that's something I learned, I honestly, just through a relationship with somebody who kind of just helped me finally understand that self-love was not a place I was, and it was a very gentle but stern, there's nothing I could say to you to make you believe that that you're a great person. If you don't believe it, you're never going to accept it from anyone. And so it's never going to be real for you. And that had me like, he put me in my place, like, damn. Wow. Wow. And I really had to sit down with it and just be like, he's so right. Yeah. I finally understand that, I don't have the best relationship with myself. So I need to work on that first, so that I do believe that I'm a great person.
There's actually a conversation that I was listening in on a podcast this past week, and they were just speaking about the fact that women constantly want affirmation. They just every day want you to say something nice about her hair, her face, her body, the way she thinks, she's so funny. And they're all a bunch of guys. They're just like, I don't get it. Why are you living your life so that someone else affirms you? There's nothing that person's ever gonna say to you that's gonna click. So what's the point? So I must now waste my breath trying to make you feel good about yourself, whereas that's the work you're supposed to do on yourself by yourself.
There's a podcast I listened to this year, and it kind of helped me understand how, as women, we are socialized to believe that goodness comes from, being of service to others, and goodness, being like, they assign morality also to features of your body. So if you think about fairy tales or, movies, animated films that we watch, like the good people were beautiful and the bad people were ugly, right? The bad people were darker. So it's when you then subconsciously start to assign morality to your features, it's, and society acceptance in the most basic primitive part of our brain, you want to be accepted in society so that you're not cast out, because once you're cast out, it just means survival zero, you're dying, you're dead. So there's this primitive need for acceptance into society, and acceptance into society means you have to be good for society. And so you have to play up the good traits, and good traits means giving of yourself, being of service, putting everybody else's needs first, and also, striving towards what that particular society deems beautiful, because beautiful is good. So you'll notice how over the years, certain traits that were not desirable before are now desirable now. So that's a clear testament to how society, dictates, before big asses were just not great. Now big asses are amazing. Straight hair was the desirable feature back then. Now people are, looking at curly hair. We're trying to show people that natural hair at whatever texture is great, but that's still something we're working towards. But because morality was attached to so many of these traits, you want to also be deemed good. So it's less even affirmation and more validation that you are good and you are desirable. And that means that you are part of this society, and that means you won't be ostracized. And once I realized that, I was just like, I'm going to need to stop seeing things as good or bad, and things just are. And once I detach from that morality of things, and I'm able to be a bit more accepting of myself, and being able to sort of discard what society has taught me to believe I need to be deemed good and, desirable.
So I actually didn't think about body image in this light, because in my mind it's just such a compartment. Like you had said, it's a compartment of myself. There's nothing I can do. This is the body I was given. I don't have another one, so it is what it is. I can't really change that. If I lose weight, I gain weight. I become darker. It is what it is. Whereas now I'm sort of thinking about it in interpersonal relationships, what it does to me when people affirm or validate me or ignore me completely because of what my body looks like. And that includes like hair, face, facial features, all the things that you're teased about when you're younger, all of that stuff. I think I had compartmentalized all of this stuff for so long. Okay, so one last question. We've spoken about body images from where you are now, but when did you start sort of realizing the importance of having a positive or negative sort of body image, and what other people do to you, and trying to correct that mindset?
It finally crystallized for me about 3 years ago. Like I said, there was that day I was just online, and if I just delve further, somebody had asked me in my Instagram DMs, it must have been like 4 years ago, and they're like, "Oh, Patricia, how are you so happy all the time?" And the only way I could answer that was, truthfully, I'm not happy all the time. It's just that I only come online when I'm in a good space. But then I thought about, because it made sense to me at the time, but then I thought about it and I was like, wait, if I only come online when I am happy and in the best, mental space, does it then present to the people who consume what I share? Are they just thinking that I'm always happy and don't go through, my lows and whatever? And then, I explored that thought further. And then, I started to think, not even just for mental space, but with our bodies. If we're only presenting ourselves in the best light or in the most flattering angles, or, in clothes that don't show your cellulite, which is like, for me, my biggest, peeve right now is just my cellulite and my uneven complexion all over my body. Or what I perceive as, because I've realized also that the way I see myself is not the way I truly am. I have amplified certain negative traits, or traits that I deem negative. I've amplified them in the way that I see myself. And when I take a picture and I'm like, why does it look like my thighs are toned? I know they're not toned. And my friend will tell me, no, your thighs look like that. And I'm like, no, but I don't want people to think that I've smoothed out my thighs, because this is not what my thighs look like. But then I think I started to see that I've also amplified certain traits in my body in a negative way, or in what I perceive to be negative because of what society has taught me is negative. And so if I only show myself in the best light, mentally, physically, and they're younger girls who are consuming my content and thinking Patricia is happy all the time and I want to be like Patricia, because then that's what is supposed to be, that's what the norm is, then I'm doing a disservice to the people who consume my content. And I would hate for a girl to think that if you are going through a low mentally, that there's something wrong with you. So that's when I started to share, not necessarily, when I'm crying my eyes out and then I come online and I'm like, oh God, I'm just not okay. No, that's not what I would do. But when I start to feel better, I would just come on and say, I've had a rough few days. Does anyone else feel this way? Are there any tips you can share? Are there resources that, you have? I started to just come on every once in a while to just let people know that it's not always flowers, roses, sunshine, butterflies. There's moments where it's it's just not great. And then I'm slowly working towards also just sharing things about my body. It's quite interesting because the more I get comfortable with my body, I want to share my insecurities about my body, but then I'm also getting more comfortable with my body. And so, whatever perceived negative traits may not be there by the time I'm actually fully accepting myself, because I will have rid myself of that filter that just sees like the worst of me. But I think about 4 years ago is when I started to sort of start to share the low points in my life as well, and to share, the need to accept all parts of your life as okay. It's okay. There's some people who are just naturally happy all the time, and that's great. It doesn't mean they're better. They're not good because of that. That a signing of morality. If you're sad all the time, or if you feel like there's something just that doesn't feel right, hey, it's also okay to see someone, speak to someone. It could be a function of a deficiency in your vitamin D, like to also take away the stigma around figuring out what might not be, the norm, or what might not even the norm. Like if you just feel like things are a bit more difficult for you than they are for other people, it's okay to seek help. Because just the same way physically, if, it's hard for you to run for 10 minutes, even after like a term of just physical exercise, maybe there could be an issue with your heart or your lungs, and you would get checked for that. If you have pain, chronic pain in your leg or your arm, you'll get it checked. If, you find out something that I've been finding out recently because of the community of neurodivergent people online, who then start to talk about, hey, if you've always sort of just thought that, this dull ache in the back of is normal, I'm here to tell you that actually it's not. And it's so illuminating to have a community that's sort of sharing things that you believed to be normal, or you believed to sort of not be something that needs to be looked into. And then to find a community of people saying, hey, actually, who you are and what you've sort of had to contend with, it's okay. You can see someone about it. There's a community of people to help, like figure out how to live with it, not necessarily fix it, but just to say, hey, actually, this is how you get around this, or this is how to make yourself more comfortable with this, or, if you struggle with focus in this way, see this doctor, but also try this vitamins. They help with cognitive function. Try this to help with sleep. Like there's a community of people online who are sort of helping people see that if there's some things that have been difficult for you to sort of maneuver in your life, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you're different in this way. And here's how to sort of live in this way.
Well, it's been such a wonderful conversation. I want to ask one more question. You need to tell us how you started Uncover.
Okay, so Uncover Skincare was founded by two women, Sneha and Catherine, and they were part of an incubator program that was ongoing in Nairobi in early 2020. It's called Antler. So it's like an incubator program for startups, and it's a business entrepreneurial type, incubator program. And they had, while they were part of the program, they had the idea to sort of go into skincare because they both have personal stories when it comes to their journeys within skincare and their skin. And Catherine is from Korea, but has lived in Kenya for quite a while. Sneha is Indian, grew up in Belgium, and then is married to a Kenyan, and she's been living in Kenya for the last 10 years or so. So their personal journeys into skincare was just, finding products that worked well for their skin and were gentle, but, effective, not harsh. Sneha had, visited dermatologists, and the treatment was so harsh that it burnt her skin. So they got that idea and it grew. And then they reached out to me to sort of join them because I had spoken about skincare and my journey with my skin and Korean skincare and the skincare routine. So we got in touch April 2020 and started working towards building a skincare company that sort of takes the best of what Korea has to offer in terms of their innovation and their tech and their traditions around skincare, but then tailor that to women living in Africa. Because, Korean skincare is quite popular, but the only way you could get Korean skincare is, somebody has traveled to Korea or these merchants who sort of bring it in a suitcase. And, it wasn't necessarily formulated for women like us who live under these climatic conditions or, basically African women. And African women are not just Black women, it's also across the spectrum. We have Black women, we have brown women, we have Indian women, we have white women who also live on the continent. So just tailoring skincare to us and prioritizing us, right? But using amazing technology from Korea and also fusing it with African ingredients that are known to be great for us. And so that's what Uncover Skincare is. And we're building it slowly. We're very data driven. We're always asking our consumers, like how we started was just launching a survey, which I put up on my Insta stories. And we got close to 1,000 women responding and finding out, what are their biggest issues? Where do they get their skincare? What would they like to see in skincare? And then sort of just using that information, and like the priority is African women. And because we all have our personal journeys with that, we're so, involved in the formulation of it. So even though the products are manufactured in Korea, we're very hands-on in terms of the formulations. We have an advisor who has worked with one of the biggest skincare companies in the world. So, and she's, a chemist. She's a professional when it comes to skincare. So we have a team of women from around the world who also are advisors as well. And we're able to sort of take all this information as we're growing and center the African woman in creating these products so that we know that they are safe for African women to use, they are effective, and they are affordable and accessible. And we also want to share information as well. So it's not just about, we're selling you products that we've formulated that we say are great, but we're also sharing information with you so that you also understand your skin a lot better. So you're empowered to make decisions around your skincare and the products that you then use. And then, it's more, I think it's more sustainable that way, so that you have a great relationship with your skin and your body. And as we grow and evolve, we're sort of just, taking our consumers along with us and building a wonderful community of women who support each other and share with each other. So it's just a really lovely, warm company and space. I feel like I'm talking about my friends here because they really are. And it's not just a business. It's not just a company that's selling stuff. It's really a community that we're building. Yeah.
That's actually super wonderful. I think for Black women to be doing the kind of work that you're doing, it's phenomenal, and I applaud it. I really hope you guys move leaps and bounds and you guys make so much more impact than we sort of see with the traditional kind of skincare. And you impact more women to sort of love the skin they're in and the bodies that they're in. So congratulations for that. And please do tell us more about what you do at a later stage. The more you guys grow, just keep filling us in. With that, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving us your day. It really is so wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I think you caught me on a very calm day. I'm very chill, very zen. So what you did say is true. I'm so glad we had this conversation. It was so rich. Thank you for your questions. I think the topic was such a beautiful topic to sort of, delve into and unpack. So thank you for that. And I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you. With that, Mind Shakers, thank you for listening to our episode on family, relationships, and body image. Please don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms and tell us your thoughts on all of these different subjects, whatever they mean to you. Most of all, Mind Shakers, we encourage you to go out and share anything that you've learned from this episode with the people around you, as we all learn together and boldly shape the world. Thank you. Thank you for listening through to the end. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, or all of them.
There's going to be plenty of exciting episodes to come, so if you want to catch that, follow us on all social media platforms at MindShack Podcast, and of course, follow us or subscribe to us on our YouTube platform or our YouTube channel at MindShack, and of course, see you on the next one.